Man, what a week it's been on Montlake. Monday, the Washington Huskies were playing for the national championship. Fast forward to Friday, and their fearless leader, head coach Kalen DeBoer, is taking up residency in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Sleepless nights in Seattle, indeed.
From LA to Piscataway, all Big Ten all year long. This is Big Ten 10.
You want to know how quickly things can change in today's world of college football? In 2019, Kalen DeBoer was the offensive coordinator under Tom Allen at Indiana. Fast forward not even 5 years later, that same Kalen DeBoer is the head coach, succeeding Nick Saban at Alabama, and Tom Allen has been fired and he's the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Keep up. Things can change and the meteoric rise continues for one Kalen DeBoer. This is Big Ten Ted. This is not SEC Steve, so I'm not going to go into a 5-10 minute conversation or commentary about how I think Kalen DeBoer is going to do at Alabama, but I will give you this. Kalen DeBoer will certainly have his hands full at Alabama, but there are resources and there is maybe an opportunity in Alabama that there wasn't in Seattle, Washington. That being said, I thought there might be a little bit more long-term security, maybe long-term consistency in Seattle as opposed to Tuscaloosa. You know the pressure, you know the expectations are going to be probably something Kalen DeBoer has not seen over his time at stops like in Indiana, like a Fresno State, like a Sioux Falls, and like a Washington. Different coaches and different personalities respond to that in many different ways. Kalen DeBoer was certainly looking for that opportunity. Someone was going to step into this Alabama job that had that confidence about them, that was willing to take on this opportunity. I'm very curious to see how Kalen can do on the recruiting trail. That's the big thing a lot of people have been talking about so far, finishing outside of the top 25 at a place like Washington. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world in a place like Seattle. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. But Alabama is used to finishing in number 1, number 2, number 3 in the recruiting rankings every single year. There is a treasure trove in the Deep South of a lot of really, really good players, and Alabama is that brand that everybody flocks to. Can Kalen DeBoer keep the talent level at that high level that they are used to under Nick Saban? Wait and see. Kalen DeBoer has won everywhere he has gone. I'm sure he is looking forward to this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to see how Kalen can do down there in Tuscaloosa. Let's get into the financial part of this. According to 24/7 Sports, Brandon Barcelo and the folks over there, Washington was willing to go as high as $9 million per year. According to what I was being told earlier, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and according to basically what I thought they would go higher. I thought Kalen DeBoer would be at least a $10 million man. Okay, their new athletic director said in an interview with Adam Brenneman, will be like a deal like you've never seen before. And they were maxing that out at $9 million. Look, I don't know what the financial and the budget situation is for Washington. Of course, they're coming into the Big Ten as partial members, so of course that kind of has something to go into it as well. But at some point, if you want to be a top team in a Power 2 conference, you're going to need to invest in your head coach. And the more time that really goes by, you're going to see a lot of these top coaches at these top programs across the Big Ten and the SEC. As the revenue increases, a lot of these guys are going to be $10 million men. Let's rewind a couple of years ago. Remember, Mel Tucker had that one really good year in, 2021 with Kenneth Walker. They went 11-2. Michigan State paid him a contract because they didn't want him to go down to LSU. They said, what do you want? $9.5 million is what he was making every single year. Fast forward a couple of years later, where Kalen DeBoer has not one, but 2 very good seasons in his start at Washington, and he was not able to eclipse that mark that Mel Tucker made at 9.5, as Washington was willing to go up to $9 million. So, like I said, I don't know the comparison between the Michigan State athletic budget and the Washington athletic budget, right? It's everything. It certainly is not apples and oranges, but the investment a lot of times, money talks, especially in the coaching profession. But I will say this, the new athletic director was put in a very difficult spot, right? They were trying to work on an extension during the season. They put it off until after the season to try to focus on their championship run, which they got pretty darn far, right, in that championship run. Maybe there's a little bit of regret setting in, but maybe they didn't want to go over a certain amount. Maybe they said, this is as far as we're willing to go. And that was the story. And that's the end of the story. But we progress to the next chapter as well. Washington is going from a reload to a rebuild. Look, coming into 2024 from this fantastic 2023 season, even with Kalen DeBoer as head coach in Seattle, there was going to be a little bit of a drop. Look, you go undefeated, regular season, you win the Pac-12 championship game, you win a playoff game. Yeah, there's going to be a drop. At 99% of programs across America after that type of season, there's going to be a drop. And when you lose Michael Penix Jr., you lose your top 3 wide receivers, you lose a running back, you lose a lot of really good players, especially on offense, you're going to see a drop. But they were doing good enough replacing those players with transfer portal players and maybe the players that they had coming up that they could drop to an 8-4, a 9-3. If everything clicks together, maybe they could be 10-2 and a dark horse for a 12-team college football playoff spot. Now, instead of that reload, this thing turns into a rebuild. Will Rogers is the first player that I really want to focus on because when we take a look at 2024, possibly before Kalen DeBoer left, being a reload, it was all about the quarterback position. Replacing Michael Penix Jr. with Will Rogers, who was really good in an air raid type of system at Mississippi State, seemed like a fit where you could plug and play, and maybe you don't have the type of success and numbers that Michael Penix Jr. had, but you were able to plug him in and have a fair amount of success, and then you were able to get a transfer out of Cal and Jeremiah Hunter, and then Jeremy Bernard and Giles Jackson would have kind of stepped up a little bit, but that's just not what's happening. You're seeing a lot of these guys, Will Rogers, re-entering the transfer portal. You're seeing Dylan Johnson declare for the NFL draft. You're seeing a player like Jabbar Muhammad on the defensive side enter the transfer portal. You have seen a lot of players leave the program ever since it was announced that Kalen DeBoer was making his way to the University of Alabama. Although they are coming off the most successful season possibly in program history. I know they've won a national championship before, but winning 14 games. The new coach, whoever it is, this is being recorded on Saturday morning, so by the time you watch this, they might already have a new coach. The new coach that comes into Seattle needs to know what this is all about. Needs to know that this is type of a rebuild situation and kind of tune last year out and look ahead to the future and what exactly is being set up in Seattle, Washington. I believe the coach that comes into Seattle, that comes into Washington, needs to be a lot maybe like a Jonathan Smith. If he wanted to stay on the West Coast, maybe he would have waited. But obviously things move quickly, as we said at the beginning of this video. But you need that type. You need a program builder. You need a developer. I don't know, Kalen DeBoer finished outside the top 25 in recruiting a couple of times. I don't know if Seattle, Washington is a place where you're going to recruit top 15 classes, top 20 classes in the country every single year. Your hope is that you can get into the top 25 a good amount of times, but I don't think it's a guarantee that a school like Washington is going to be able to recruit at that type of level. You need to invest into the development of players, and you need to find a coach that invests into the transfer portal, because Seattle and Washington has proven to be a place where players can go and have a decent amount of success. And especially now being a Power 2 conference, there will certainly be an opportunity to play against the best as well. This is a Washington team, okay? I'm a positive guy. I like to take positive things out of what might be perceived as a negative situation. Remember Steve Sarkisian, the head coach at Texas? That Sark? He turned around an 0-12 Ty Willingham team into a 7-6 team in 2 years. Kalen DeBoer rebounded this program after Jimmy Lake had this thing going towards the bottom of Lake Washington. After a successful era of Chris Peterson. So you had Chris Peterson, who did really well, double-digit win seasons, went to a college football playoff. Jimmy Lake had it going down with the ship, and then Kalen DeBoer brought it back up. So it's proven that this Washington program, over time, has found the ability to rebound when the right coach is in Seattle. That's the key. Finding the right guy, not swinging and missing, not Jimmy Lake 2.0. Finding the right guy that knows what this job is all about and how to succeed at Washington and how to succeed in the Big Ten. The blueprint for every team in today's day and age of college football is extremely different. Kalen DeBoer is probably about to find that out at Alabama, how different it is from Tuscaloosa into the beautiful mountains of Seattle. Those programs are very different, and he's going to have to win in a little bit of a different way down in Alabama. Whoever comes into Washington is going to have to know what this program is all about. Washington fans, it might seem like not a great time, but history has shown us that this Washington team can respond and can rebound. We'll see if it happens as they enter the Big Ten.
Thanks for watching Big Ten Ted, where it's all Big Ten all year long. Make sure to like the video to spread the word of Big Ten Ted to the masses, and subscribe to the channel for updates on Big Ten content that drops every day.